What up, everyone? This is Mr. Lord, Dr. Professor, Dark Joker, here with another edition of Traditional Fans with Opinions, where I'll give my reviews for whoever I watched, read, or played today. And who are Traditional Fans with Opinions? That is myself, and that is you, the viewers. With all that being said, on with the reviews. Chainsaw Man, Chapter 220. So in this chapter, you have basically like Yoru, the War Devil, doing all these attacks on Chainsaw Man. She summons a Moray Eel Devil. Chainsaw Man just basically early just kills it. Then basically War Devil says that like, hey, both of them have always stood alone, but she's learned to depend on others. Do you see humans being stupid? And the devil's sublime. So she summons basically all her kin to like attack Chainsaw Man. So then you see Chainsaw Man just start hunting up a bunch of them, and then War Devil summons a Michigan sword, basically collapses the state of Michigan. So yeah, so basically that's the end of the chapter. So yeah, obviously we're getting to like the big fight between Chainsaw Man and War Devil. Seeing how that turns out, that should be interesting. Yeah, really like this chapter. Looking forward to the next one. Watson, Season 2, Episode 5. So in this one, there's an issue with a patient named Lucky. So a basically a nurse tells Watson, basically when Watson visits Van Kirk Memorial Hospital, nurse tells Watson about Lucky, basically how he has like locked in syndrome, so like he can't move, but he's aware of stuff. So they start trying. So Watson agrees to take him into the clinic, see what he can do for the patient, and then yeah. So basically, and then while this is going, there's like some issue at Diogenes Technology, which is a biotech company owned by Mycroft. So Sherlock, who's staying with Watson, tells Watson that upon his fake death, he bequeathed like, some formulas to his brother, but they were flawed. So basically, there's a chance that Biogenes and other big pharma companies are going to basically go bankrupt. And it seems to be by design. And so basically, one of these times, now I was lucky. One of these times that there's like a travel nurse named Haven Henry who has been killing patients by injecting with insulin to induce hypoglycemia. Lucky's witnessed it, but basically, due to his condition, he can only convey so much info. So basically, Henry uses a paralytic on Lucky in order to delay any communication he may give. Watson undoes the effects, and Lucky identifies that Henry is the attacker. Now Henry flees to Hanoi, Vietnam. Well, Holmes does a fake bomb threat to keep the plane grounded, which allows the authorities to arrest her. Now, while at therapy, while going, Ingrid is clashing with Beck, and basically she tries to get her mentor to arrange a brain computer interface in order to help Lucky communicate better, but Ethan has been fired and therefore can't help. And but Ethan gets rehired and does a trial run. And Adam tries to help Ethan with his alcohol problems. And Beck explains that he helped Ethan get rehired, and Ingrid asks for his contact info. And Detective Lestrade, who is an investigating officer on the murder investigation, basically becomes friends with Lucky. And then Mycroft arrives at the end of the episode to talk about the whole basically his investment in the clinic. Basically it's revealed that, you know, due to whatever illegal language is there, Mycroft technically is an investor in the clinic, despite Sherlock being the founder. So that's gonna play a role. Like you'll see like probably Watson clash with Mycroft. So that's gonna be yes, or I did not like this episode. Like I want like this is supposed to be a Sherlock Holmes type story. I want more mystery. Yes, Watson's a doctor, but this is a Sherlock Holmes story. What matters most is like I'm only watching this to review it. Otherwise, I would not be watching this at all if I wasn't reviewing it. Like at all. So yeah, I didn't really like this episode. I don't like how they're handling Sherlock calling in a bomb threat and purposefully like sabotaging pharmaceutical companies. The way he's doing it, like it's one thing to have issues with some companies. It's one thing to basically do corporate espionage in this way. So I don't like how they're making Sherlock a villain. So yeah, overall, I did not like this episode. I'll watch the next one. Heweliusz. So this is a Polish miniseries on Netflix about the sinking of the MS Jan Heweliusz. So basically, like that ship, it was crossing the Baltic. Basically this was on January 14th, 1993. Basically capsized due to like weather and all that, and it basically 56 out of 65 crew members died. And yeah, so basically this covers like the sinking of the ship and the subsequent investigation and like how like the people's reactions to it reacted to it and like basically like the invest it's now some of the stuff in the show is fictionalized for dramatic effect and a lot and like so but a lot of it was like yeah the investigation is shown to be very complicated and that well basically like the captain was seen as ultimately responsible since he's the captain well and like and the the people who owned the ship but the captain wasn't given all the blame but like basically like he was given some because he was the captain and like you have like basically like you had all like lots of like basically there was years of investigation and like there's like disagreements about who's ultimately responsible, but basically the ship owner in real life, the Euro Africa was considered to be ultimately responsible, and then the Polish Register of Shipping, the Sovietsky Maritime Office, and Captain Andres Helewiusz were basically had some partial liability. Was what all the investigations concluded. I mean, it was a complicated process of how like the investigation. This whole deal about who was drunk and who wasn't. I don't know how much of the alcohol part was that was just something they added in the show for dramatic effect, or if or if like if it that was actually something that was discussed. And yeah, so and apparently there was an issue. The ship was there's some issues with the repairs that allowed some of the damage to happen. And so overall, I thought it was a decent show. Basically, like the whole stuff behind it is complicated, like regarding like who's at fault, you know, how much it was just a freak accident with no one truly being at fault. Like it is a complicated thing. Overall, I thought it was a decent show. Thought it did a good job of explaining the grief process that some of the people, the families were going through, and that the whole issues regarding like how you know basically different the government bodies were trying to figure out who's responsible, how to figure out how it does, and like yeah, so I thought it was a decent show. I recommend watching it. Muzzle, City of Wolves. So this is a new movie that technically releases Friday, but I was able to see an early showing Tuesday, November 11th. Now, I didn't even know this was a thing until, well, basically a few hours ago. Like, I didn't even know the first one existed, so I watched the first one streaming. Then I went to a movie theater, watched the second one. First one's decent. Basically, guy gets his dog, guy's a canine partner, cop's canine partner gets killed. He takes revenge on the cartel members that did it. Simple story. Like, basically, kind of like a not as good version of John Wick. And so now in the second one, so Jack Rosser, played by Aaron Eckhart, he and his canine partner Socks are retired. So basically, Jack and Socks are living with Jack's family. Jack still has some PTSD he's dealing with, and basically, a gang attacks like he attacks his house, and basically a bomb goes off in the house and kills Socks. Like, yeah, it's dark. Like they start by killing the dog. So and then like Jack's wife and son are threatened. So he and the other dog Argos, they have to basically dare go around trying to figure out who was like targeting him and his family. And like he's some of the cops don't trust. There's the issue of like the corrupt cops getting in his way, and like because basically the cartels like threaten the people to help them or else their families will get killed. So you have like a few cops that like are against that like try kill like Jake for that reason, and Jake is eventually like framed as like some after like a truck Jack steals is blows up. Basically, the cartel has like the corrupt cops of basically falsely accuse Jake of being a white supremacist who was doing a car bomb. And so that like becomes like a big news story that basically he's like a war veteran, former cop who had PTSD and became a white supremacist, blah blah. And so like he's like on the run. And then like Argos is taken into like officially into like animal control, but then the cartels try to capture him, but Argos escapes. Eventually finds Jake. So then there's this one cop whose family's threatened, who like is like basically one. Then the second half of the movie is like kind of like the main person hunting Jake now, and he's forced to set himself on fire. And Jake watches it. helps this other cop escape. Now, basically, a bunch. So when Jacob threatens an ambulance, two guys in an ambulance to take him and the cop to a hospital where he could turn himself in. Basically, spill the beans on a lot of stuff that's going on. Um, the ambulance is ambushed. The injured cop he's taken there along with the two guys in the ambulance. They get killed. Now then, but Jake and Argos escape. They reunite with Jake's wife, and their son's like staying with the mother-in-law, for safety. So the cartel, basically, one of the cartel leaders, Totek, who's like the leader, tries to attack Jake, and Jake's able to kill him. And yeah, so then Jake basically turns himself in. He goes to prison. Now, as far as what that leads to, well, see, like basically, who knows, like how all this stuff with with the cop, like with the cops, corrupt cops, how that's dealt with. And then yeah, so basically, yeah, this is a simple action movie. It's just a guy who has PTSD, dog gets killed, his wife and son get threatened, he tries to kill the cartel members. It's simply what it is. And Aaron Eckhart is very good in this role, in the role of Jake Rosser. And yeah, so I thought it was a decent movie. It's not some, you know, it's not some like you know, extremely well done, movie, but it's a decent movie. Yeah, I think it's good. It's not gonna be some like top 10 movie of the year or anything. No, I mean we've had some bad movies this year, but not that bad. But no, I thought it was a decent movie. It's a simple action movie. There are some pacing issues, where like some stuff seemed to have been paced a little too quickly, especially near the end. Like once you get to like the second half of the movie. But overall, I think it's a decent movie. Like it is strange that like the dog from the first movie is just immediately killed off in the second movie. That's a little weird, but obviously given one of the hooks of the first movie was a dog he taking revenge for the dog's death. You know, basically I guess they wanted to repeat that in this movie. And you had another dog. Also serve as the partner. So yeah, so I thought it was a decent movie. So whatever. I don't think it's gonna do well in the box office. One, due to lack of marketing. Two, it probably won't get the highest reception in the world, and I don't think it has a lot of theatrical showings. So it might not make profit. Sucks because it's a decent movie, but yeah, I mean, I recommend watching it. Well, that's it. Did y'all like the stuff I reviewed? And if you have your own opinions about all that, you can put all that in the comments. Thank you for watching, and like, subscribe, and all that. And look forward to the next video.